itu sangkai sanga cika me kita umbilinga cika me katumba me kakuntan tola sangkai wili watol nung thorobo na ke bakatu we mula tumbi kana katumba sangkai wili kontu ruwa tol nung aki tumbi kana katumba sa re fangina takil mani bala na iso ni katumba ke tumbi lilo mula ndre ke me sotap nangam na mikin kina ngalangi kina wala kam do itu.
Ako Amelia Marama ni nangkaindamu mai koro. Ia oyang sayang baki walu sanga bulu kapa. Sakero tu daki kira sempati papa ia umai. Papa ia umai kero eta tale mainta cikini wanwaya kero mai domba empale talikina. Au sakai sanong kisangane. Saulako ngani senga sigara no nalako. Daru nalako bata. Saya lihat kakek que me deu marruikina abu bale isulu kakek saya. Au sapa pindah takanga kalau no tangan. Mistuli cukup bikin membula.
This emergency came up after Cyclone Winston, when we had 2 cases in Bao where community from our 2 members of our community were assaulted, were stigmatized at the evacuation center, and there were a lot of bad things that happened. And that was something that really got us into thinking that this climate emergency really applies to us in terms of security. We were also seeing the change in weather pattern and how it's affecting our lifestyle, because for some of us are situated near to the coast, some of us are staying towards the mountain, and you know, the change in weather pattern, everyone could speak for that. But with regarding us in the community, I think when it comes to emergency situations such as that, like tropical cyclone, whatever natural disasters, we are the ones that are very vulnerable in terms of mobilizing, in terms of accessing services. Fiji is doing our job, we are doing our part. We've done so much in terms of climate resilience, the word resilience, and climate preparation. We are doing so much, but it's the work of other global, especially global north. They have a big role to play, and they have a big question to answer in terms of global climate change, emergency and advocacy. They really need to change their attitude, their mindset, because when we go into their countries, we see this. We see pollution, we see stale air and all of this, and they really need to do the work around climate change. To me, and I see it as a challenge, is around the global commitment to negotiating and talking about bringing it down to 1.5. It was because of their gender that they were stigmatized, that they were treated like that they were told that they were supposed to do this and use this instead of this, and treated in a manner that was unhuman in a situation where it's, you know, people are fighting for their survival in an emergency situation. In terms of our gender, with regards to climate change, something that is clear to us now, that we cannot access the normal available services that they put up during emergency situations such as tropical cyclone. For example, using the provided evacuation center. Since we are not comfortable in those evacuation centers, we plan to erect our own evacuation center. So these are some of the steps that we are taking to address gender in terms of climate change and all of this. And not only that, like, we also have situations for those of us that are staying in coastal areas. The person itself, whether it's an LGBT, with the family, are affected as a whole because of the rise in sea level and the loss of livelihood and all of this. And they have a role to play. And since they have a different gender, they'll be told to do different kind of chores, you know? So that is also a challenge that some of our community members are facing too, because of decisions made on top, because of place of us, because of what else. It's people in power that needs to change their mindset. I see women's movement as the main pathway for us to really amplify our voice, and they are doing that, and they've provided the space and everything for us to be able to be in those spaces and represent our own issues. To look at resilience and the role of women play the role of resilience. They are the first responders straight after the tropical cyclone. While the men are still traumatized, the women get up to look for food to feed the family. That is resilience. We reached Navutu and everything was blown away. There were just poles standing on the ground. And when we came, we didn't see anything. The first thing we saw was a group of men sitting under the tree and just talking. Later, while we were approaching, then we could see the women that were pulling out, there's this particular weed that it grows along the water. So they were pulling out this weed to cook for the people to eat. And in that particular situation, in that particular time where there was no food, They were the ones that were concerned about feeding the kids. The men were seated, traumatized, and just can't get over the fact of what has just happened. Once we are represented in these kind of spaces, then we can be able to voice our opinion and agree with everyone, then put it in paper. Maybe when we are provided the spaces, then we can be able to speak our own stories instead of others speaking the stories for us. Looking at the momentum of resilience of the work on climate change in Fiji and the Pacific, people are really on their feet with climate change. But what about the world? What about global north? What about people in power sitting down in the air condition while we're standing in the sun holding up placards? Those people need to do something.
Here with us